I kind of just fell back on first do no harm from my Hippocratic oath that I took, and that I'm treating my patient to the best of my ability. And when I have, when I've got a piece of paper that I unfold, that is the material safety data sheet of the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna, J&J shot, okay, and it says intentionally left blank on it. And so I don't know what I'm injecting into people. I don't know how anybody who can inject that in there and say that they gave those people informed consent. If you don't know what is in the product and what's there, how do you know what you're putting into that person's body?
So
That's the first thing.
So it said intentionally left blank. There were no, you couldn't see the ingredients or anything?
There was no list of ingredients. And actually, I think even now when you look at it, the list of ingredients is certainly, there's no molecular structure, so you don't know what it looks like. The list of ingredients is probably certainly not complete. And it still just doesn't give you any satisfaction that you're doing something. Even if you say that they did a placebo-controlled study, for 2 months. And during that 2 months, and you talked to Brooke Jackson about, what that study was like, because she was the supervisor of like 3 or 4 of these vaccine clinics in Texas. And she's tried to fight this thing and tried to take Pfizer and the company that was running the studies to court a number of times, and it's been tossed out because of the PrEP Act. Every time. And the government says, well, we know that there was fraud involved, but because they told us there was fraud involved, then we're willing to accept the fraud that was involved. That's, but yeah, 2 months. And then they ruined, or they basically injected the control group. So now you don't have a control any longer. So they had 20,000 people in one arm that didn't get the vaccine. They had 20,000 people in the other arm that did get the vaccine. And then when they said that there was a 95% reduction or 95% effectiveness, then they just took the 20,000 people that got the placebo and they gave them the shot. So now you don't have any long-term studies to be able to follow up as to what the long-term effects are.
They screwed up their own study, basically.
Yeah, and they did it on purpose. They didn't screw it up. They did it on purpose.
See, there was this one colleague of mine where I got into an argument with her. She was one of those ones where she was very cautious of what she ate. She couldn't pronounce it. She wouldn't eat it. But then when the vaccines came around and I asked her, well, you're very cautious of what you eat. You don't eat anything that you can't pronounce on those labels. What's in those vaccines? Can you pronounce any of those? She goes, well, no, we're saving lives here.
Right.
It's for humanity. If you don't get it, you may die.
Right.
And well, you're getting it. You're saving lives.
Right. And then that lady, Stephanie Small, or whatever her name is, out of Ireland, who is the Pfizer, second in charge of Pfizer for all of the EU, gets questioned at the EU Commission. And she says, we were moving at the speed of science. Of course, we weren't able to follow whether it was transmitted, whether it was transmissible or not. So they never even tested it for transmission. So you're not saving grandma or anything, even though that was the message that they were trying to get across.
Doc, were you getting paid by the government in order to administer these shots?
No.
So they were just sending them out to you and saying, you know what, vaccine or vaccinate as many people as you can.
Yeah. So that's where their fraud came in, that they said that I defrauded the government of their product because they paid for it and sent it to me. And they had an agreement with me that I would do what they wanted me to do, or what they wanted me to do with it. So they wanted me to take this vaccine and inject it the way they had instructed us to inject it. And so they claimed that it was fraudulent of me to take this $28,800 worth of product and not do with it what they wanted me to do.
It's not like you were billing anybody, were you?
Nope.
But nope. So no doctor ever got paid for administering the vaccines?
No, you can get an administration fee if you charge the insurance companies, but you can't charge for the vaccine. Okay, so you can charge like an office fee, like an office visit fee, or whatever and typically it's about $45 to $50. Okay, so we're for my case with the government in their first indictment that they had against me in 23, in January 23 were claiming that I made, that their first foray into this was that I had done almost 2,000 injections at $50 a piece. And then the $28,000 in change was like $126,000, in fraud that they claimed. In their superseding indictment, they took out all of that part about the $50 because it was not anything that we charged. We were providing a service. You were asking this, how do we then get caught, right? So we were providing a service to people. Those people never turned me in. And what happened was I had a number of patients after I've been doing this for about 6 months that came to me and said, hey, doc, you're really helping us out. What can we do to help you out? Can we buy you lunch? Can we do this? I said, you know what? There's an organization in Utah which is helping to pass laws so that this will never be mandated in the state of Utah again, and that it actually becomes a crime if we do that. And they're trying to push laws for medical freedom. They're trying to push laws for allowing for vaccine exemptions and those kinds of things. And we were successful in doing that in the state of Utah. I'm not saying that organization was purely responsible for it, but we were successful in Utah in terms of trying to do that. And so what I asked them to do was, if I don't want your money, okay, I'm not going to take your money. But if you feel like it and you feel that it's an appropriate thing, why don't you donate to this? And we gave them a QR code that was linked to a donation site for them to, donate vaccines or donate $50 for their vaccines that they were coming to the office for.
If you enjoyed this short clip, go ahead and click here to watch the full episode. And make sure to click here to subscribe to our channel to watch all other episodes of the WiseNuts podcast.